Hey everybody, I'm in Seoul, South Korea right now, and this is my review of the Xiaomi Mi Note 10. So I've been using this phone for the past 8 days, 4 days in Hong Kong and 3 days in Seoul. This is actually my second video on this phone. I already covered the 108 megapixel camera and the overall hardware pretty in-depthly in my first hands-on video, so I would highly suggest you go watch that if you're interested in this phone. So I'm gonna skip over the camera in this part of the video. I'm gonna move straight on to software. So yeah, this one runs Android 9. Unfortunately, it's pretty damn disappointing because it's almost 2020 and brands like OnePlus and Huawei have already given us Android 10, although we're not sure we can call Huawei's Android 10 the real Android 10. But the silver lining for me is that this phone runs the newest version of MIUI 11, and I actually quite like it. I know I'm in the minority. I know a lot of reviewers say MIUI is trash. I just think they're being a little bit too harsh. There are many things about MIUI that I like. I like that you can bring down notification shade by swiping down from anywhere. You don't have to reach all the way up to the top just to bring down the shade. This is so damn annoying to me when I'm using an iPhone or a Pixel. And I think the shortcut notification shade actually looks pretty clean and nice looking. You know, it's a minimalistic design. I don't think this looks that bad. All the animations are pretty smooth, pretty clean. And you know, a lot of the things that people gush about iOS 13 or Android 10, such as night mode, these things have been on MIUI for like more than a year. And navigation too. Android 9's navigation, the pure navigation, was terrible. And this navigation in MIUI is actually what Android 10 is going to use, except MIUI was using that a year ago. You swipe from the side to go back, and you long swipe to switch between apps. This is pretty useful in my opinion. And you also have things like double tap to turn on the screen, a very fast in display fingerprint reader, and always on display. That's quite useful. Now, I know this design looks just like the Samsung's always on display, so I was a little bit shameless there. But you do have the option to change your always on display to another clock face. So there are just a lot of customizations that you can do with MIUI that stock Android doesn't let you. Now, I gotta say, MIUI 11, maybe because it's so new, it is slightly buggy right now. Some apps have crashed on me, including the camera app, and I'll actually talk a little bit more about the camera app later. But also, just MIUI has some stuff that doesn't make sense. So for example, if you go into one-hand mode, so it tells you that it's one-hand mode right here, but you can only use one-hand mode when you're using navigation buttons. So when you're using gestures, you can't use one-hand mode. They should probably mention that right here. And now likewise with double tap to wake the screen, which is one of my favorite features. So you notice right here it says you can double tap to wake or turn off the screen, but it only works to turn on the screen. You cannot double tap to turn off the screen, even though in settings it says you can. So these are all little things that Xiaomi has really got to work to improve, to polish the software, because it feels a little bit unfinished right now. But still, I wouldn't call MIUI trash. I would gladly take MIUI over Huawei's EMUI or Vivo's FunTouch. But ultimately, of course, OnePlus's Oxygen OS is still the best damn software around. So the other thing I want to talk about is battery. There's a 5065 milliamp hour battery inside, and yeah, it definitely has been lasting me all day in Seoul. Like walking around all day, taking a lot of pictures, a lot of videos, all of that. In terms of screen on time, I'm getting about 6.5 to 7 hours of screen on time, so it's actually not that amazing, but I'm a very heavy user. And also when I'm in Korea, I'm on roaming, so maybe if I'm back home in Hong Kong, battery would go longer. But you know, it doesn't really matter to me. As long as the phone can last me an entire day easily, that's good enough for me. It doesn't matter if it finishes the day with 47% or 27%. As long as it finishes like easily with over 20% every day, that's great battery life. So yes, I am at the land of Samsung right now. And here we have the LG G8X. In Korea, it's called the V50S, but in the US, in Hong Kong, in everywhere else, it's called a G8X dual screen. Pretty confusing, yes. Okay, so I do want to talk a little bit more about the hardware. This curved screen, it's a 1080p panel, and it looks great. Like you can see when I'm outside the sun, it's completely visible, but the edge detection isn't as good as I'd like. The reason I say that is because Vivo and Huawei, you know, they recently released phones with that crazy waterfall screen. they've actually fixed edge detection completely. It's not just me. If you read other reviews, they all say the same thing. You can grip onto the sides completely and you have no issue. That's not the case with the Xiaomi Mi Note 10. The edge detection on this is about on par with like the Galaxy S8 on the Samsung, meaning it's not terrible, but it's not good. Now, as you can see here in the YouTube app, if I grip the phone a little bit too tightly, I'll actually accidentally trigger a new video all the time. And you know what, if you can fix edge detection, I will take a curved panel any day, man. This screen looks damn beautiful, damn sleek. So now, this selfie camera, I didn't really talk about selfie cameras in my last video. It's a 32 megapixel camera and it takes very sharp and very vibrant photos. Unfortunately, this camera is pretty hard to use with one hand. Like I mentioned in my last video, the wide angle camera position, it's a little bit too low on the phone. So anytime I switch to the wide angle camera, there's a high chance my finger is already in the frame. And this is just from me holding the phone normally. I have to make a conscious effort to move my finger down. Even then, it's very easy to just get into frame. It's not hard at all. So you see the edge detection problem kicked in again. I accidentally switched to panorama mode when I was not trying to go to panorama. I was at the default photo mode. And then the zoom button here, it's actually a little bit laggy. So see, going to macro, it takes a while sometimes. See, now it's not that responsive. Now I do think it's because this is a new software and also a completely new camera sensor that Xiaomi is working with for the first time. I'm confident Xiaomi will fix this to make it a little bit more intuitive, but right now this camera app, it's a little bit slow, and when I switch to 108 megapixel, you see there's usually a little bit of a pause too. And then the zoom dial, it's also a little bit like janky. Like you see, I'm trying to zoom and it's just not letting me with one hand. Now I know you might be thinking, well, just use your second hand, but I'm testing a phone as a real life user. In real life, if you live in a big city, you have to use one hand quite often. Not everybody can use two hands all the time. So now finally I was able to get into the zoom dial, but you see how this took like multiple tries? On an iPhone or a Samsung, I would be able to do this right away. But this camera, if you have good daylight, it is awesome though. So I'm gonna show you another sample now. We'll take a 108 megapixel photo. I mean, just look at how much you can zoom in and look at the details in this shot. So there are other quirky things with the camera app right now. For example, in the video section, there's a new vlog mode. What this does is it allows you to shoot some presets, special effects to short videos, and they edit them together for, you know, a clip that's actually pretty fun. But if I want to shoot it right now, see, you notice the menu right now, it's in portrait orientation, right? I'm going to tap on rhythm, shoot vlog, and it forces you to turn the phone to landscape because you can only shoot in landscape mode. If that's the case, they probably should have had the menu in landscape mode to begin with. It would make things a little bit more intuitive. So anyway, I'm going to shoot a quick vlog right now and then show you. Anyway, so this is the finished product. Basically, it dials up contrast and it adds some zoom effects and sound effects to it. I mean, it's a little bit gimmicky and you can get this feature on any third-party app, but I think if you're a very casual smartphone users, it can be quite fun. I mean, I've shot several others, and I think if you have a good scenery, it's kind of fun to play with. So if I have to sum up the camera experience of the Xiaomi Mi Note 10, meaning camera hardware, camera software image processing, and also the camera app, is that it is very versatile and it has a very high ceiling but also a low floor. Now by high ceiling, I mean that if I know what I'm doing and I have good lighting, I can get some truly stunning images with a hell lot of details, more details than I should be able to get from any other phone. But at the same time, the camera app is a little bit hard to use, and if lighting is not good, photos can turn out pretty messy. And the color consistency between the wide angle camera and the main camera is also off. Like the colors do not look consistent at all. So you'll notice that at night, the Mi Note 10 almost always overexposes. And these images are shot in 27 megapixel binned mode too. So they're already the superior version of the 108 sensor. But there's just nothing you can do unless you turn on night mode. But if you turn on night mode, then you have to wait like 2 seconds. So like I said, it's a high ceiling camera. You can get some truly amazing shots, but also a low floor. Now this phone runs on a Snapdragon 730G. So while it is optimized for gaming, it is still ultimately a mid-tier chipset. It is not a flagship Qualcomm chipset, and that's where I find bummer with this phone, because this phone is priced at 540 euros, so it's not that cheap. You can get a OnePlus 7T for that same price, and that phone has a Snapdragon 855 Plus. So if you look at it just from a purely chipset point of view, this falls behind quite a bit. But I have to be honest, I think for a lot of people, the Snapdragon 730G is perfectly fine. You know, when you're running at Instagram, WhatsApp, Facebook, whatever, and just surfing the web, you know, you're not gonna have any issues at all with performance. Everything has been moving around pretty zippily, and this phone only has 6 gigs of RAM, so that really goes to show you don't need 8 or 12 gigs of RAM. And just look at this curved screen with a dark mode on. Everything just looks so sleek and so nice. So since we're in the land of K-pop, of course we have to do a K-pop speaker test. Unfortunately, the Mi Note 10 only has a single bottom fine speaker, but it does get pretty loud, and you can actually hear some semblance of bass. So for a single speaker, it actually sounds pretty good, but of course I would have loved to have stereo speaker. Okay, so that's about it for my review of the Xiaomi Mi Note 10. I think if you look at it from a purely pricing point of view, then the OnePlus 7T and Realme X2 Pro are better deals, but the Xiaomi Mi Note 10 offers a couple of things that other phones do not offer. The first is a 108 megapixel camera. That's legit if you have good daylight. You can pull in so much more details and pixels than any other cameras on a phone right now. And the second thing is, it's gonna sound weird, but this one has a headphone jack. Yeah, it sounds sad that we're at this point, but most other phones right now do not have a headphone jack. So if this matters to you, this is important. Oh, and the third thing too, battery life. This phone will have battery that will definitely last you all day, whereas you can't say that about the OnePlus 7T. Okay, so that's it for now. If you're interested in more content like this, please subscribe to my channel or follow me on social media. So I test all the latest smartphones, and I usually try to shoot them in a more dynamic environment instead of just say like inside a white room or something. So that's it for now. Thanks for watching.